Hello there and welcome to Racehorse Movies, the show where two film fans take a racing sheet from last week, pick a random horse name for each other, and from that name pitch a movie. In the pitch, to flesh out our movie ideas, we may include such things as stars, directors, composers, best boys, and stable boys. Maybe not that last one. Hoping none of our ideas have to be put behind a screen and shot. The sky's the limit, the horses are on the starting line, the jockeys are frothing. It's time for Racehorse Movies.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Racehorse Movies, the pilot episode, our inaugural episode of our little podcast. My name's Graham Thomas, and I'm joined by my very, very good friend, Mr. Luke Searle.
Hello there.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you, man. Yeah, it's been a fantastic day so far, and a pretty damn good week as well. So yeah, feeling tip-top, thanks, man.
Good. Are you excited about what we're just about to get into?
Yeah, I am actually. Oddly, I thought I would just be purely terrified, but no, I am actually quite excited. I absolutely am, man. Yeah, we sort of, it's rolled around in our minds in some way or another for quite some time, really, hasn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, to give a bit of context, do you want to explain the format a little bit?
I think that's a good idea.
It was explained in the intro, but maybe people skipped over that just to get to your...
To our beautiful, silky voices, of course.
All right. What are we doing? Why are we here? What's happening?
Right, well, we figured it would be quite fun to sort of jump off the back of a game we used to play in university, man, which involved us having a look at the local papers, going to the racing sheets at the back, picking a random horse name, and then pitching a movie based on whatever that horse name was, man.
I guess it's kind of an exercise, a fun exercise in creativity, storytelling, trying to make something sometimes serious, sometimes ridiculous out of quite silly racehorse names, because they are always quite silly.
Absolutely, yeah, and just they're a really good jumping off point for, like you say, a little bit of creativity and exploration and having some fun kind of a thing and seeing where it takes us, man. So
yeah, it's our pilot episode, so please bear in mind that there might be some technical ups and downs. We've never ever done anything like this before.
Yeah, be gentle with us, dear listeners.
Well, before we get into it, actually, how are you? What's been going on?
Well, not a great deal as far as any massive wild events go, man. Just been enjoying visiting some lovely places, exploring Portsmouth and Southsea, going out in some sunshine. Can you believe it? Although it is tipping it down with rain as I speak now.
I cannot believe it.
No, absolutely. No, and nor should you. Watching a couple of movies, listening to some music, buying a few vinyl, those kind of things, man. Enjoying the finer things in life and feeling very good for it.
Good for you. What have you been watching?
Well, I started watching. I was in need of a series to get my teeth into. Nothing too intimidating. There's a lot of series out there that are 5 or 6 seasons in, and they seem like a little bit too much of a commitment for me to get my teeth into. But I stumbled across a show called Devs, which is quite a creepy offering, a sort of tech thriller from
Alex
Garland. Absolutely, yeah. All episodes written and directed by him as well, so that's really interesting to see him get to explore like the themes that he likes to explore in long form, man. Sort of about a massive quantum computer that can accurately model now, or they are trying to make accurately model scenes from the past, as well as recreating scenes from the future as well. It's that powerful. It's got that much data in it that it can start to show you actual images. So you get to see some very spooky things, such as Jesus Christ being crucified on the cross and speaking in Aramaic. Marilyn Monroe and Arthur Miller having some private time. All of these strange snippets from history, and it's all accompanied by very strange visuals and really effective, pulsating, scary score. It's absolutely, it's very atmospheric. It's completely in Alex Garland's wheelhouse in the best possible way. Deals with all the fear of technology and discusses issues like determinism and fate and all of that kind of stuff, all wrapped up in a very meditative, spooky thriller, basically. It's really well done.
Okay. Is it an anthology series, or is it like you follow one character or a series of characters through the story? Yeah,
absolutely. We're following a bunch of characters, sort of the most compelling, I guess, for me, of which would be Nick Offerman's character. He is the head of the devs who are working on this fantastical machine, and he is a wonderful co-lead for a show. He's got a lot of gravity, a lot of talent, man. It's really nice seeing him flexing the serious muscles again as well, which is really appreciated.
I guess the $1 million question, just before you carry on with the Nick Offerman conundrum, that's a TV show in itself.
Yeah.
How beardy is he?
Oh, he is beautifully hirsute, man. He's got a very big bushy beard, and he is also rocking beautiful hair as well. He looks very conditioned because he's a rich, sort of reclusive genius. No, he is beard level. Probably the max I have seen him beardy. He is that. So if you dig Alex Garland and his style, and you want to see him, as I said, exploring what he does over an extended, I think it's about 8 episodes, 1 season, and it's done. I don't think it leaves us on a cliffhanger, but I guess I'll find out in a couple of episodes when I get there.
And where did you watch that?
That's on iPlayer, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out, actually. I still haven't seen Men, but I've seen a lot of his other work, and I really like Alex Garland. In fact, I watched Sunshine the other day that he wrote.
I have not seen that for a really long time, man.
It's a fantastic movie. I mean, it drops the ball. I feel it drops the ball a little bit towards the end. The third act is a bit wayward, and it gets a bit slashery. That might have been studio interference, who knows? But Danny Boyle's visuals, and especially the sound design in Sunshine, is just fantastic. Great performance. It's a nice ensemble cast. I'd love to see that in the cinema, and I should email the Prince Charles and see, and obviously they'll listen to me, to see if they can get a screening going, because it would be fantastic on the big screen. Well, that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been watching, I guess. Should we talk about some race horses and make some movies out of them?
Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens.
Okay, so let's pitch some horses. Where are we going to go? Or where have we gone?
We have gone to the lovely shores of Ireland for the 105 Gorham Park standard race card on the 26th of January 2023.
Nice. So at the end of this episode, after we've done our pitching, we will pick horses for each other for a future race, and which will then be the premise and the titling of the future episode, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Cool. So we've already done this before the pilot's gone out. We privately, offline, chose these horses. So what horses did we pick for each other?
Yeah, I picked for you Six Hands in My Pocket. And for me, what did you give me again?
I believe that I gave you Ricky Langford.
Yes, you absolutely did. Yes, indeed.
So what the idea here is that we're just going to go and pitch our movies. I'm not sure how detailed yours is, your pitch, and you don't know how detailed my pitch is. Spoiler alert, it's not very detailed. So there might be some questions asked where we develop things and try and build the story together, or it might be that you just sit back and listen and let the movie
flow over me. Yeah. I'll be sat back in my mind cinema, man. You just tell me when I need to interject.
Okay, so who's going to go first? Six Hands in My Pocket or Ricky Langford?
Who do you fancy?
Oh, the list is long and distinguished, but I think that you should go first.
So, Ricky Langford, Tales of a Nearly Was Has Been. So we're going to open on the outside of an old boozer, and there's a sign outside it on one of those sandwich boards saying, "The Great Chimp Spectacular, 2 shillings" on it. So we go into the raucous pub, the old Joanna's playing, there's a tiny little stage on a filthy carpet behind the staff-only piss-off sign on a door, and then we go into a frantic changing room behind the door, where we meet Ricky Langford's mum, in front of a tiny mirror, putting on makeup, adjusting a really quite amazing outfit, really standing out in this sort of grubby, half-lit changing room that they've all crammed themselves into. Beside her is Frankie, a little girl about 10 who's helping adjust Ricky's mum's outfit. We move across from the corner of the room where we see Ricky in a young ringmaster's outfit, again, weirdly resplendent in this absolute shithole of a pub. He's deep in conversation with a young mate of his, Jack, who's got his hands on Ricky's shoulders. It looks like he's sort of pepping him up, giving him a really good talk. There's a scream of a monkey. The camera whips around to the father, a sort of giant version of Ricky with his top hat and his tails matching. He's got one chimp at his feet, all dressed up to the nines, whistle and boot, all of that kind of stuff. And the other one is in his arms as he tries to fit some kind of suppository into the poor creature. We hear Ricky's mum saying, "Oliver, darling, must you?" And the dad swings round, inserts, and says, "It gives them pep, Marjorie, pep!" There's a throaty, phlegmy announcer, starts to introduce the family. The chimps are pushed out the door, followed by young Ricky, in front of the sputtering spotlight, in front of a squealing microphone, and he says, "What's for tea?" And that's where we start the film. So we start off getting a little slice of Ricky's life. The loving but somewhat distant parents who seem to fuss over the chimps like quite a lot more than they do Ricky. He's got a real natural charisma. He loves the stage. He can just take to it like a chimp to the trees, I guess.
PG Tips advert.
Exactly, yeah. And I do not condone any kind of animal cruelty or the use of animals in this way, by the way. I think it's very disgusting, and we will show that, this is not the way to treat animals.
Well, we've already shown that with the suppository.
Exactly. This is not a good thing. It's not a funny thing. This is what his dad's doing, and he's a kind of...
Yeah.
He doesn't, he doesn't really know what he's doing, but he'll do anything to make some cash, basically. And that gives the monkeys pep, and that will get him working through the show. That's how he thinks. He's not a nice man. He's a rough man. The parents look at Ricky, and they just say he can take care of himself. He's a good lad. He loves the stage. Look at his face when he's up there. He's doing well. He's got Frankie with him. He's got Jack with him, who they've basically adopted into this weird family of theirs. They all look after him. They all look after each other. We can concentrate on sewing outfits, booking gigs, getting more money. We need to keep making money. We've got to tour the worst kind of pubs in the country if we have to. We're not going to get anywhere up to Blackpool, which is the dream, because we're too niche. We're never going to get there, but we'll make enough bob if we can by touring around the country, kind of a thing. So Frankie is always there for young Ricky. She's a real confidant. And Jack is also the same. He helps to get Ricky's head straight, make sure he's where he needs to be, keeps to his rehearsals, make sure he's there when the terror of going on stage hits poor young Ricky, which it always does, despite how much he bloody loves it. But despite the terror, Ricky is a complete natural. He loves it. His warmth and his energy, they translate directly to the crowd. It helps them forget their worries en masse for an hour or so, and Ricky thinks that's a really sweet gift to give someone. And it's
what's his shtick? Sorry, what's his?
So
piece,
he's kind of
his
party piece. He's a catchphrase comedian, is how he's been built. He's a cute little kid that played around with the chimps and "Where's my tea?" while the chimps were all getting fed and looked after, and that was him sat in the corner, falling over a table, everything spilling over him. Mum, where's my tea? And that's what's will come to haunt him during the duration of this, of course, as you can imagine. And so that's what they're up to. It was a song and dance kind of a thing. He can do a bit of everything. It involved a lot of chatter. He had to do a lot of chatter, which he's very good at. As I said, he's natural up on stage. It involved working with the animals, which was chaos, but he managed. It involved a lot of physicality. He's a cute kid. He's got a catchphrase, and it starts to catch on. People start to recognise him around the towns, the villages, the village halls, the God knows wheres that they start to perform, the old boozers, etc. But the chimps are ageing, and they get retired after a bit of bother at the show. And all the pep in the world is not going to get them on stage, not without them pulling off a face or two on the way, kind of a thing. They need to be retired gracefully, by the way, and not retired in a euphemistic fashion. They're given away to a zoo because they cannot look after the animals anymore. So, dear old Ma focuses on Ricky, gets his dad to sew together both of the chimped outfits into one outfit for her beautiful little star Ricky, and he's pushed up on stage. And the catchphrase keeps continuing to catch on. He gets the bug. He loves making people happy. There's a scout in the audience for the Palladium. You'll be dancing for the Queen's son. Not even the chimps did that. The parents are absolutely ecstatic, man. He's taken off. They cannot believe their luck. So Ricky starts to be pushed more. He carries the act. He provides for the family. He's suddenly in the big leads, and he has started to enjoy a little pep of his own. Competing against the likes of Arthur Askey, Morecambe and Wise, Ken Dodd, who he takes an instant dislike to. He fucking hates Ken Dodd.
Why are we picking on Ken Dodd?
Because he's too happy. He despises him. He absolutely despises. There's something that deeply unsettles him. He's picking the happiest man who is enjoying his job the most and is the most successful. It's kind of telling that Ricky would choose him as a nemesis, man. So, it also doesn't help that Ken Dodd's agent books every gig that Ricky goes for. They're always ahead of the game, man. It's not irrational. It's a hatred, because he knows that if he honed himself, disciplined himself, took less of the pep, concentrated on his act, he could probably be doing the things that Dodd's doing.
But they're just a more professional outfit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they are, because these guys are just childhood friends, man. There's nothing that, they're all learning on the job, man. And he's having to learn on the job to support the family, kind of.
So that gives them that kind of us and them chip on his shoulder right from the get-go, right?
Yeah. He can't be happy with where he is because he's not where he wants to be, and he'll always want to be somewhere else.
And it's finger pointing. It's because you've got a better agent. You get you're first to the bowl.
You got props. You got puppets. You got diddy men. You got a feather duster. All I've got's my mouth. And I used to have chimps. I haven't even got them anymore. It's that kind of a thing.
Okay.
So he's in that kind of a scene, but he's doing well. And despite everything, Jack being the wheeler dealer. He knows what he's up to, and he's also, as I said, learning on the job, and he's learning pretty well. He's taking to it like a duck to water, managing Ricky. Beyond just helping him get to where he needs to go when he's a kid, he's stepped up now. They're in their 20s, and actually starting to get him bookings. And he gets him, to his credit, Ricky's own TV show. Frankie comes in to help him constantly with the rehearsals, and actually she's turning out to be a far better writer than Ricky is for the material that he does, so he gets her on board as well and keeps her on board because he knows that he's now starting to rely on these people quite a lot because he's not really pulling his side of the bargain, man. He's letting down the triangle slightly. He's getting lost, thinking that he's made it because now he's got a TV show and his mum and dad are over the flipping moon, as you can imagine. Oh, little boy on telly, I wouldn't believe it, that kind of stuff, man.
Has he got a nagging doubt that even though he's amazing, he's actually he relies too much on other people? Like, he doesn't actually have the talent to create the stuff that he's famous for. He can just perform. He's a mouthpiece.
That's what he feels, yeah. But then there is that immediate natural charisma that we witnessed when he was younger and we've seen slowly fade away. We know he had it as well. And the problem is that it's easier for him to rely on other people, and he doesn't have to try because he's still doing well enough. And that is constantly hitting at him. That's constantly going at him. That's
a compelling bite for an actor to get hold of, isn't it?
Absolutely.
For the character, that kind of that niggling doubt, that behind the cracks, I'm a bit of a fraud. Yeah.
But he's kind of happy. But 20-year-old Ricky isn't particularly cute. And any satisfaction he used to get from making people laugh gets sucked away the more and more episodes of this sort of like low rent, some mothers do have them kind of TV show. What's my tea is still haunting him. That's still the thing he says at the end of every episode to his long suffering wife. That what's for tea? Yeah, he's had enough, man. It's really wearing him down. So he falls in with the punk scene. He sort of floats around. He wants to try and find something that can allow him to channel this anger and self-destruction that he's feeling. He falls in with the punk scene, mainly because there's a lot of pep kicking around those kind of gigs and that kind of scene. He kind of likes the violence, he likes the anger, but it all kind of makes him feel a bit more square and a bit more like the cute little boy he was, even more out of touch because he hasn't got a flipping clue what anyone's talking about or rallying about or angry about because that's not the world he's lived in for his entire life. During this, he meets Peter Cook, but all Peter Cook does is give him more anger and a taste for more booze. Doesn't give him focus and direction. It's not this great worldly, I've met my oracle. It's just another notch in his sort of sad decline down into obscurity. Ricky starts to feel disturbed at the distraction his show provides. People seem to be angry. The country seems angry. We're getting into the sort of late 70s, 80s now, man. There's strikes all the time. Thatcher, the Falklands War, mass unemployment. Ricky feels kind of fraudulent for just keep on puking funny porridge into people. And that's it. He's not bringing anything to the party. He wants to say more. The show turns into an even worse version of Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. Frankie's starting her own career at this point. She's too frustrated at getting stymied by the studio at every turn. She's doing a stand-up career, and actually she's doing extremely well at it. She's much more natural, heartfelt, truthful, and funnier than Ricky is. Imagine his dismay at witnessing that. So Ricky and Jack are told the show is set to be replaced by, of course, a run of Ken Dodd TV specials.
Yes.
And he's told this just before Ricky's going to go and promote his latest, and we've just found out, final season on a live talk show. On the show, Ricky launches a foul, messy, completely misguided tirade against a politician he falsely believes is there to represent the government when in fact they're not. He makes a complete horrific fool out of himself, and he gets nasty, and I'm talking like Oliver Reed when he goes on Parkinson and he's swinging around his arms and doing that kind of song. It's just scary, man, seeing someone that big and out of control so public.
Yeah.
That wrecks nearly Jack's reputation, of course, because he's kind of been flying on young Ricky as much as Ricky's been relying on him. And it completely wrecks that of the sweet what's for tea Ricky, because he's not a nice family man like he portrays in his show. He's proven himself to be quite a unhinged person when he wants to be. Jack leaves. He gets a break managing mid-level TV celebrities, booking game shows, stuff like that. Frankie gets more gigs, starts to make a real name of herself. His parents are distant because they just can't fathom why he would give up the thing that they wanted for so long, and that he has been on telly and he's bloody made it, and he's just tipped it all away.
They can't understand the pressure that they've put on him.
Nope.
or anything like that. They can't grasp.
No,
that.
all they see is the fact that he has wasted the opportunity they gave him.
That they've given him.
Absolutely. The gift is chucked right back in their face, as you can imagine. So Ricky drinks and peps his way into obscurity further and further. When his money runs out finally, he uses the little notoriety he's still got to do some stand-up gigs. But that's stuck up in the Northern Club circuit, and it's moved on to darker territory. He finds himself lost amongst Mannings, Roy Walkers, Chubby Browns, Jethros, Davidsons. The opposite of the unifying laughs that he used to give, as stupid and empty as those laughs used to be, all of it based on division and difference. And he starts to join in his sets of tirades against perceived wrongs against him. During part of it, he dresses as a diddy man and beats a rough dummy of Dodd around the stage. And it gets all intense. There are tears. He shouts, rages, vents his spleen. He's got little focus, and he hasn't got any clue about how to put any anger into his prose. At his lowest slump, he's given a talk by Jim Bowen, who says, "You're a good lad, Rick, and I'll give you the bull if you want it." And all he says is, "Fuck off, Jim. Go give it to Dodd."
Wow.
So at the depth of all of this, one night, after he's done his set, he wanders around and he watches a few comedy shows and gets really fucking pissed off that everyone is so much better than him and they're all luckier than he is and they all get the breaks when he doesn't get any of the breaks. And then he sees Frankie doing a headline. And he's blown away by her act, and we focus on him as he's watching her do her thing on stage. And this is kind of the first time in the film that we've seen him smile and laugh since we saw him as a boy. And it's beautiful. His face flipping lights up, man. It's marvellous. And he is completely lost. He's forgotten all about himself, and he's being transported like he used to transport audiences. And it feels absolutely incredible. And he goes up at the end and he's, I'm so sorry to bother you, or I just need to know, like, what's your secret? How do you do that? Tell me how to do that. You used to write for me. Tell me how to do that. And she just says, "Well, I'm sober and I've got a bit of fucking empathy, Ricky, love. All you do is shout at people for an hour." But she's a good friend, man. She gives him a number. He uses it. They work together a little, and Ricky starts to improve, drink less, swear less, stops fighting the audience. He tells a few more stories about his life. And some of the barbs that he does throw out against the state of things are more pointed. They're a bit more true because he's sober enough to string some thoughts together and actually make up his mind on his own about what he feels about the situations that cause him consternation and whatnot. His comeback of sorts is like enough to cause obviously a stir on the circuit. Everyone likes a comeback kid, and that's what Ricky is doing at the minute. He books a few bigger venues. Jack calls in. They're so happy to be reunited, as happy he was to see Frankie again. So Jack feels kind of bad about just leaving Ricky behind and going off with Des O'Connor, as you would. And he offers him an olive branch and says, "I'll help you again if you want. I've got a few better contacts, mate." It starts to go pretty well. Ricky's smashing it. Ricky's gigging a lot. Ricky's getting a lot of acts. He's getting a lot of bookings, man, which is a really tiring job. Unless you've got a little pep.
Right, here we go.
So unfortunately, the old ways start to set in like that, man. And funnily enough, he's had 6 weeks of good luck and not going to get in the way of the 10 years, 20 years of training he's given himself in self-destruction, man. So Jack says, "Look, we've got this thing coming up. We've got Annika Royce doing this £1 million celebrity giveaway thing. So if you're up for it, they want you on the panel there, man. You're going to be geeing up the crowd. You're going to be getting the money rolling in. It's going to be fantastic, man. There's going to be a big old box of cash on the set. They're going to be filming it live. It's going to be a really big TV event. We think it's going to be really good for you, man. Winton's going to be there. John Leslie's going to be there. It's, you know, this big 90s jamboree, man. You might even get Jules Holland if you're lucky." So he goes, a bit too full of himself and many other substances, and decides that it would be absolutely hilarious and deeply satirical and really clever if this beautiful £1 million that is displayed in front of him and the audience, he took a bit of a lunge at and set alight with a decently aimed bit of booze and a cigarette that he was smoking.
Just to set fire to it?
Yep.
KLF style.
Absolutely, man. He's like, "Yeah, I'll show him. Wasting money, is it? That's all I've seen all my life, being wasted by bloody them, whoever they are." He doesn't bloody know. He hasn't got a point, has he? But nonetheless, there's his great act. And he manages to fight off security, John Leslie, Dale Winton, Jules Holland, who's come out from behind
security?
us. Yeah, times were hard, man. Early 90s.
Times were hard.
And he managed to fight him off long enough for about £300,000 to burn live on air.
Christ. Right.
And then the next line, it's prison. That's all it is, man. There's no other choice.
Yeah.
He's assaulted a lot of people. He's criminal damage. He's got to be in there. But that's where he learns to keep his head down, to take a few hits, not even physically, just to his misaligned ego. He signs up to therapy after long enough of doing absolutely nothing, because he's kind of sure that doing absolutely nothing is kind of what he's done his whole life up to now, and he needs to do something. There, he bonds with the group leader, Greg, this big, sweet, embezzling teddy bear of a man, who starts to encourage Ricky to share himself more, to be more truthful. He gets clean because he has to. Despite it being in prison, he avoids any of those temptations. He finds it easier because he's got a strict regime to live to. He's got very, very, very clear rules, probably for the first time in his life, in fact, and a very clear home as well for the first time in a long time. And he's got, again, he manages to find, because of his warmth and his charisma, he manages to build those friends around him, a little like Frankie, a little like Jack, and Greg becomes one of those friends. So he gets clean, he starts to work on his craft a lot more himself, not relying on Frankie, not communicating with her and Jack. He doesn't know how to at all. And he starts to learn a lot of blistering honesty underneath Greg's tutelage to do. And he starts to do little gigs in the prison yard, then in a lunch hall, building his story, getting it ready to tell. And then we cut to seeing Frankie and Jack. They get delivered a couple of envelopes, and they open them up, and on that card, they're opening it up separately. We get to see a bit of their lives and where they're at now. Frankie is doing incredibly well. She's just about to go on to a panel show or something like that. And Jack is working with more and more big names. He's got Morecambe and Wise now on his gig. He's helped to get Ken Dodd a couple of shows, and he'll never tell Ricky that, but he has. And he was a very, very nice man. And inside those envelopes are a picture and an invitation to the Great Chimp Spectacular, only with Ricky's old and actually really happy looking face superimposed on each of the chimps. And inside is simply, "I'm sorry, please come." And so we go back to the pub that has been renovated and is actually quite a nice eatery now. And so he goes back to this boozer, and outside is the same old sign for that Chimp Spectacular. And then we go backstage and we see Ricky alone, calm, quiet, happy, smiling, relaxed, sat just looking at himself in the mirror, getting ready to go on stage. And we follow him out to the spotlight and the squealing microphone. And he starts with a "What's for tea?" And then he starts delivering not his old shtick, but the beautiful new routine about his entire life and how he got there and his friends. And it's this massive apology to himself and to Jack and to Frankie. And we cut to the back of the room where Jack and Frankie are completely in tears, absolutely overcome with emotion, seeing their friend finally be the person that they thought he could after however many years it is they've seen him fail. And at the end, Jack goes up to him and says, "Well, you had to make it all about you, didn't you, you prick?" Gives him a massive hug, and he goes on to be happy and to do very well for himself. And he is, and that is the last we see of Mr. Ricky Langford.
That was fantastic. I love that. There is so much for an actor or a cast to get their teeth into there. It's a proper kind of rise and fall and rise again story, character study of this guy. Director-wise, you're going to have to get someone who's going to be able, and a casting agent who's going to be able to fulfill the requirements. You've got generations of very famous, very successful comedians and celebrities to
navigate
this film. To navigate as we go through. I really like that we go from like 70s up to 90s. But that rise, or the end of traditional stand-up, the rise of alternative comedy, not understanding that, the Freddie Stars and whatnot getting kind of sidelined then and then coming back, and that kind of that murky water, I think, could be really interesting for casting.
Yeah, and we can fit in some world events, obviously, because that's the kind of thing that make him feel pretty helpless. You got like Punk in there. We can have some cameos around there. We've got to find someone to play Peter Cook and Jim Bowen, obviously.
Can we get the young ones in there?
Oh, Yes, yeah, definitely. Definitely. He should go. That's after one of his acts. He goes along to see that and he heckles them or something because he just doesn't understand it. He's like, well, what are these kids doing messing around up on there?
Dangerous Brothers or Ben Elton and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and then maybe later on he tries to do something like that because you said earlier he's trying these things, but he's just doing pale imitations because he just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have Frankie backing him up with the writing or anything like that.
Yeah, and he's got to learn for himself, and he just refutely doesn't. He just tries to take the easy way all the time just by borrowing other people's shtick, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, who have you got? Who would you direct?
Well, I was thinking it depends how, because we're doing like the through the ages, we've got a lot of famous people playing famous people, lots of cameos, all of that. I was like Michael Winterbottom out the gate, man.
Top of the list for me as well. Yeah,
right,
absolutely. I was the 24-hour party people or cock and ball
story. Yep.
Yeah. He would be fantastic. He would nail the movement through time, and the casting would just be spot on. You wouldn't have to worry. Safe pair of hands.
Yep.
In
the best possible way, as in like he has a great pair of hands for it. Absolutely, man.
Yes.
So that's kind of that's as far as I got almost, really, man.
I had Shane Meadows.
I have him as my second. Yep. But that how, because he's quite fun as a director, Shane Meadows.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of love and life
get a lot of
into
empathy
him, and he's great
and
at friends, like groups of mates, like This Is England and stuff. He can have that dynamic. Absolutely.
He can get the detail. Yeah, he can get the detail actually spot on. I've also got Paddy Considine as well. I think he would work. He would get whomever you cast in the Ricky role. He would get, you'd hope, an absolute powerhouse of a performance out, because obviously he is one of the finest actors working today.
Yeah.
And the internal conflicts that Ricky is going through and all that. I mean, if Paddy was younger, he'd make a fantastic Ricky.
That's the thing.
He might have aged out of the role slightly.
Yeah, but that just means he's into the role of the father, man. Like, that's absolutely
the
fine.
father.
I guess for Ricky, because we're going to have obviously kids are going to be playing the kids. We're not going to de-age them that much. So after that, when he comes into adulthood, I think probably a bit too old. Maybe a Jamie Bell or someone like that. I think he would do, because he's got massive chops. But I'm not sure. He might be a little old. I'm not sure.
He's quite
relatively speaking.
Young. I mean, he's old in the years he's been on the earth, but I think he's quite fresh-faced still.
Okay.
I think you could. I mean, how old is Ricky when he tops out on this? We leave him, 30, 35?
Yeah, it will be. Yes. Yeah, it'll be around that, man. So that's not. He can do that, and you could young him up enough. And acting young, maybe Jack O'Connell as well, because
that's a good shout.
I think he could. He's got a lot of the rage. He's very good at anger, man. Crikey,
he is very handsome. Though,
that's the only problem. I was trying to think of a way to ugly him up. No offense. No, actually, none offense. It's impossible to be offended by that, Jack, if you're listening.
And now I'm about to get offensive to a whole raft of comedians, but in the 70s, it was not like we were looking at the sexiest men and women alive.
Yes, absolutely. So we need someone to reflect that. But now I don't want to name anyone.
But now I don't want to name anyone either, because now you're going to say that there were
Mackenzie Crook.
You'd call them character actors, wouldn't you?
I think that's the right term.
I apologise.
Maybe
the entire acting community.
Thomas Turgoose.
Yes,
and he'd be a shoo-in if we had
Shane
Meadows directing. Absolutely.
I've got my number 2 choice, which is odd because he's definitely a bigger name. But he's my number 2, is Barry Keoghan.
Oh, that's a very swearing good choice, man. Holy moly. Yes.
He's my number 2.
He's got the perfect look as well.
He's got the perfect look. He can do sweet and empathetic and rage. He can do everything. That kid can do everything. So I would hit, but my number 1 choice above Barry Keoghan, if that is even possible, my number 1 choice is Joseph Gilgan.
Oh, mate,
Cassidy,
absolutely.
In from Preacher, and of course from This Is England. This is England, 86, 1992.
Yeah.
And his TV show Brassic.
Which
I haven't seen, but I've heard it's very good.
He does pathos like no other man.
and anger
Yeah.
and frustration. And I could. He's got this
a
kind
really
of
good
young De Niro edge about him, where when Joseph Gilgan as Ricky is at the back of the room, like watching Ben Elton do his shtick and not getting it, but getting jealous. It's difficult to get jealous about something that you don't understand, I guess. But he would be able to sell that in his eyes, and just like you can imagine the camera moving through the crowd to the back of the room where he is. He's smoking, he's biting on his nails or something. It's just all in his eyes, the whole human emotion that he's going through, the whole drama of everything. I think Joseph Gilgan would smash it.
Mate, that's absolutely incredible shout. Yes. Yeah, 100% he's hired. And he would work with either of the people that we've mentioned as director. This is all slotting into place perfectly. I might swap Jack O'Connell as Ricky to Jack O'Connell for Jack, maybe, because he would do a better flash, talky, best mate kind of a thing, man.
Yeah, he might pull focus a little bit, but I think he can do that. For Jack, I've got Joel Fry, mainly because I am in love with Joel Fry.
Yes.
But he could do a good sidekick, mate. He could bring a bit of humour, and he's really good at acting like he's out of his depth. Like just being a bit awkward, but cracking on, but just being a little bit awkward and not the smartest person in the room. He's very good at that kind of quizzical expressions.
Yeah. But again, has a ton of like empathy, man. Like again, he's one of those people that I can, and we need all three of the group to have that warming centre to them, because there's a reason they all bonded when they were young, etc. And I want to believe that bond as we're going through and it shatters and whatnot. And I think that they'd be able to work that together really well.
Absolutely. And who have you got for Frankie?
I went Gemma Arterton for Frankie.
Okay, slightly older.
That's the thing, yeah. So I might need to pitch a bit younger. We could do Florence Pugh.
I've got Felicity Jones.
I would love to see her free from the trappings of, I think Rogue One was maybe the last time I engaged.
I don't know, I can just see her in that period costumes, I've just reduced her to like wearing a dress. But I could see her in that setting. I could see her working quite well for that role.
Yeah.
And she's the right age. She's age appropriate, I think.
Yeah, around the same window as the other guys, kind of. And it doesn't matter if they shift a couple of years between each other. We can absolutely go up a little, go down a little. That's not a problem, man. You know, Ricky is the one that this is all hinging around. The other guys can be sort of like slightly older, slightly younger around that, I think, man.
Florence Pugh is a good shout.
Yeah.
She's a good shout for everything.
That's kind of the thing. Again, like, yeah, I think she would work, man.
Amazing. I love that. That is so cool.
I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. There you go.
I mean, that we could definitely develop that into a screenplay or a short story or a novella.
Yeah, definitely. It felt good.
It was great. I really enjoyed Ricky Langford, and hopefully we can hear more from that in the future. If you decide to develop it further and write it up, that would be great.
Yeah, watch this space. And until then, enjoy it in your mind cinemas, people. And
I guess that leaves it to me now to drop the very large ball of this podcast and move on to my pitch for a horse named Six Hands in My Pocket. My pitch for a film named Six Hands in My Pocket. Now, your pitch was quite detailed. It was quite fleshed out. It was quite fully formed. It was a treatment that we went through story beat by story beat. And because we like to do things with contrast and conflict, mine is not quite like that. My pitch is pretty open. There's some bullet points here. There's some character names. There's some things that happen. There's a setting. And then there's the filmic influences that I've chucked in. And then from that, maybe we could work together to figure out what's going to happen, what the actual kind of set pieces might be.
Yeah,
or,
okay.
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Just to see if this works nicely compared to your full-blown treatment.
Exactly, man. This is our first episode. We're fleshing these things out. We're testing these things out. I'm sure our very patient listeners do not mind being guinea pigs for sections such as this. And we want to have some fun and try and flesh out an idea together as well at the same time. That sounds fantastic, man.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do it. Right, so Six Hands in My Pocket. Okay, so we start in a town, in a plain, deserty kind of plain town. A guy comes into town with some heavies. the bad guy. We're introduced to the bad guy immediately.
Okay.
This is Bo Badham. Bo Badham comes into this western town with his group of heavies. And he calls them out onto the town square. So in like a proper western kind of, I'm calling you out.
Dun,
And,
dun.
yeah, exactly. The townspeople come out. They assemble around him. Obviously, he's well suited and nicely turned out, and they're all kind of making their way in the world and trying to eke a living from the bare resources that they have at their disposal. And Bo Badham collects money from them all, and he's collecting their tithes, their protection money, and the protection money is to protect them from him.
Of course.
If you don't pay me, bad things are going to happen. They look around, they see that his men are covered in like ash and soot. They've already been to a neighboring place and like burnt down the church. They're collecting things, and if you don't have enough money, so they pay him. They pay Bo Badham and his men. And then before he leaves, he says, "Oh, as you know," one more thing in a Colombo. As you know, the tournament is coming very soon. I need workers. So I'm taking workers. So against their protest, the money was not enough. Against their protest, he collects some able men and able women, and he rounds them up. Twist the first happens now as he leaves the town and we pan away. It pans to this starship which he boards them on. So we're in kind of like Brave Star. We're in like Brave Star territory now, like space western kind of thing. Fireflies or anything.
Amazing.
Like
Okay.
So he boards them onto his starship or whatever you want to call it, leaves atmosphere, and then star jumps or whatever. Not star jumps. That's an exercise.
Well, no, you've got to keep fit in space, man.
You've got to keep fit in space.
It's a good message. We'll slide this in.
He warp jumps or whatever. I don't know sci-fi. I don't care. He hightails it out there.
Well, he engages his faster than light drive is what he does, goddammit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He used the space accelerator and he goes to where he's got.
Yeah, he used the there machine to get there.
The there machine.
Yeah.
I figured in sci-fi, to make anything sound like sci-fi, if you just put space in front of it, like the space chair.
Yeah, he sat in his space
sci-fi.
chair and he took a space journey, and how he got there is none of your space business.
Exactly. So he gets the space people onto his spaceship and space jumps to his place, right? And he arrives at the town called Alice, which is this lawless spaceport that he runs, and he's Bo Badham's Good Time Casino and Bordello is like the hub of this spaceport, right? And no one knows where it is. That's kind of one of his powers.
It's cloaked or whatever.
It's cloaked, so it's hidden. Yep. And he teleports or space jumps to the neighboring star systems, whatever, to collect his tides, and people, when he needs them, teleport out or whatever it is out to his place. So they don't know where these people have gone. Yep. They've just gone somewhere. And you can seek out this pleasure dome of a spaceport. There's gambling, there's drinking, there's all the vices that you get in these kind of horrible places. So
sort of like a kind of space titty twister from Dusk
space
Till Dawn,
titty twister
without the vampires.
Without vampires. So it's a space Reaper barn or a space red light district, I guess. Like, it's those that seek it out want to be there. Those that find themselves there by accident never usually leave.
Yeah, they're there for a very specific reason, and that's to be exploited.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's at this town called Alice, this horrible, dangerous place, and there's a tournament approaching. Every year he has this big week-long tournament, and it's kind of maybe the only time that general airs of civility come to this place, because there's poker tournaments, there's shooting tournaments, there's horse wrangling, when I don't know what it's called, when they're riding on horses and they have to kind of, as they're riding, they bend down and they scoop stuff off the ground and
horsey picky up
buckets. Horsey picky up.
Space horsey picky up.
Space horsey picky up. Doing all these like horse tricks and like equestrian, I guess, but a bit more dangerous.
More like a rodeo sort of style, man. Yeah.
Exactly. So they got all these things going on, and at the end of the tournament, obviously there's a big prize money for whoever wins the poker tournament. That's the big main event, is the poker tournament.
Okay.
But also it's a good excuse. It's also kind of like a networking event, like the there's a hive of scum and villainy for this tournament. People can come and get work. They can also get robbed and murdered, and it's a good excuse to also make
settle
some money.
some scores at the same time as well.
Settle some scores. Everyone comes in, right? So the tournament is approaching. This is why he needs these people, these volunteers, so to speak, to help man it. Okay, so you arrive at the spaceport, you get this kind of tour, you see what's going on, you're introduced to this world. And so we then cut, as you go in, it then cuts to 1 week later. And Bo Badham is at the podium in his saloon, I guess. He's announcing the finalists, the final table for the poker tournament, for the big shot prize. And he announces the 6 people who are going to be on that. So he announces, I've got the names. So he announces Declan Six Hands Dice. He announces Wing Chun, Django the Bear Strangler, the Colt 45 Kid, Trudy Dujardin, and Moon Across the Water. So very kind of archetypical Western kind of characters, I guess.
Yeah.
So they all set the table for the final card game. And as the game starts, we then it breaks into a series of vignette scenes, or like 10-minute vignettes where we follow each character, their backstory, and how they go through the tournaments, how they get to the table and why they're there.
Wicked.
So it's a kind of Sergio Leone, John Ford kind of Western-ish. Rashomon kind of thing. Yeah, where you had these different perspectives, these different people, and how they all got there. And what it transpires is that they're all working together. So I'm going to leap right to the end now, but they're all working together to win this tournament, because Declan Dice, they're all out for revenge, but Declan Dice has assembled this crew to take down the tournament, win all the money, but then also, while they're getting eliminated from the table, they get eliminated at certain times, so they can go off and do side quests or side missions in this heist to set off a beacon or disable the cloaking beacon.
Yeah.
So that the port is then now visible to people, because Declan has got, from where he came from, which was a town a long time ago where Bo Badham stole his sister and stole people, and they never saw them again. So he's going to set this beacon so all these other towns and star systems can come looking, and they can exact their revenge, and they can all descend upon this town, find their loved ones or find the bodies of their loved ones, and get some kind of revenge and basically take the whole system down. So one by one on this poker table, this poker tournament, you see the backstories. One by one as they leave, they go on their side missions. One to get into the vault, one to move
get the codes,
whatever it is,
for
they get the codes,
the entry into the cloaking device, or whatever the spacey hiding machine is.
The spacey hiding machine, yes, exactly. And then that's kind of like the climax, is that you find out that they're all working together. The heist is pulled off. The system gets revealed to the wider galaxy. Bo Badham gets taken out. So that's the skeleton of the story, or the skeleton of the premise. There's lots to flesh out because it's very, very thin on the ground.
Yeah, but we've got a sort of Hateful Eight-y kind of a situation. It's got that feel to it, man, where we get a reveal, but we get it quite quickly, so we can get on with the actual tension of the movie and whatnot, man.
So my references for this were obviously Ocean's 11.
Yep.
The Quick and the Dead.
Yes. Yeah.
The Magnificent Seven, Brave Star, obviously, and Rashomon as well, for the change of perspectives, seeing the different stories and how they've come to this one spot. So we have Bo Badham, and he would have like a cadre of...
Has he got his henchmen as well? Yeah.
He's got his henchmen. So they'll be working against our group of heroes. So Declan Dice, in order to get to this tournament, he's been working, and his plan of revenge in a Count of Monte Cristo kind of way is to grind it out at the poker tables, to win satellite events, to make a name for himself, so that he gets the invite
to get to the top table.
Tournament.
Get
to you go to a place, a spaceship will pick you up and space teleports you to where you've got to go. That's it. You're blindfolded. Like, no one knows where it is. But so as he's been grinding out this thing to get there, his thing is, it was a solo mission of revenge. But along his way, he starts meeting other people from other towns that have had similar hardships that have been wrought upon them by Bo Badham and his outfit. So then he starts assembling a crew, a lot of it by accident, a lot of it by chance. A lot of people are saying, I know what you're doing. I want in. If you don't let me get in, I'm going to be there. So there might even be other people there that aren't part of his crew.
And they're working against him because they know, and they've got to like either knock them out or take them out depending on what's happening.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think like the Django Bear Strangler should definitely like he saves Deckard's life like straight at the beginning. I can imagine him
in heist movies, which Rick Sanchez hates, but I really like, when they're assembling the crew. That's like the first part of the movie. Whereas in this one, the assemblement of the crew is kind of dotted throughout the timeline of the movie as the card game and the final table is played out. We get the different vignettes, and then as those vignettes get nearer and nearer towards the present time, they start interacting with each other, and you start seeing their connections.
Yeah. And you'll see them leaving the table or getting kicked out of the match and then going and doing their thing. And you might, okay. So everyone else has been wronged by Bo? No, maybe not, because some people are probably just there for the money. And they're the ones who might do the double cross if that happens.
The 6 at the final table are there. They're all the crew. There might be like 8 at the final table. And 2 are just normal people that just want the money.
Okay.
But the 6, the plan hinges on the 6 winning their respective tournaments. Like, I don't know, there's a sharpshooting tournament, there's a knife throwing tournament or whatever, and then also winning through the poker tournament to get to where they are by playing with each other.
Yeah, and also obviously carrying out the heist at the same time as well. Yeah, using some of the skills that they have previously shown in the tournaments that they've been involved with at times and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it would be nice if the some of the tournaments we can almost cross-cut the heist with the tournaments they're in and show them doing like the same actions, but obviously completely different results. Whereby he'll throw a knife at a button over there and open up a the code storage room and stuff like that. Man, yes,
yeah,
okay.
And they've. Some of them, they might not have won their respective tournament, that they've come third. And if they come third, it means they get knocked out at a certain time, which allows them, because that's when the money train goes past or whatever. Everything's kind of
absolutely timed to perfection. But I guess the inner sanctum will be where they're playing the tournament and they get the special invite for. I'm imagining like they're playing their tournaments. We see them all like doing really well, and then like one of the head henchmen, whoever that is for Bo, comes round and just like slips some kind of shiny looking business card / token in their pocket and just gets out of there. And that is how you then get the invite, and you go off and you meet him at the ship and you get taken to the inner sanctum or whatever it is, which is a more, I guess, calmer, slightly more tech heavy maybe. Because it's
a bit more
where he lives,
a bit more plush.
Yeah, so we got a few lasers. I want like not shooty lasers. I'm thinking like sexy dancing through lasers kind of catsuit,
gotcha.
That kind of a thing. Those kind of lasers.
That's right. And you'd want one of the characters on that team to be a little bit of a live wire, so like maybe Trudy Dujardin or Moon Across the Water or whomever, doesn't matter. That they will stick to the plan, but they know that if they ever get Bo Badham alone or get close to it, then they're just going to take him out.
Yeah. It's even at the table, and that there is so we're around the table, there's like 5 left, and Trudy, we know, has been chomping at the bit to just put a bullet through Bo. She doesn't give a monkey's about any kind of money or anything like that, man. And so obviously classic gun / space gun in the garter.
Space gun.
And you can see like Trudy reaching for it, and at that point, whoever is set, like Deck is sat next to her, and he just reaches out and grabs a hand, and you're trying to like wrestle. There's a real subtle, just like, no, you can't do this, man. And then a little,
or they orchestrate a hand whereby she's lost or she loses, or he frames her a little bit to get her out of that situation.
Yeah.
So you would have the tensions within the team, because everyone wants their revenge and Bo Badham to get their comeuppance, but not everybody wants the same revenge that Declan wants. He wants the whole operation to be exposed. He wants people to come and find their loved ones. He is much more of a kind of altruistic, whereas the others might just want to kill him, get it over.
Yeah, and if they do that, some other dude, whoever the henchman who's handing out the chips, is just going to step up into there, keep using the cloaked spaceport, and keep on doing whatever's happening. Yeah.
Declan wants to be smarter about it.
Declan's a smart guy, man. Declan Six Hands Dice does not truck with fools,
Yes.
Graham.
He does not. He does not. So yeah, that's the kind of the rough outline. And we'd probably have to get some set pieces in there. Some they have to get captured, or one of them has to get caught snooping around.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Or some of the heists have to go wrong.
Yeah, you got the initial Bo rocking up, Bo Badham. I just like saying his name. So Bo Badham. It's just
Bo Badham.
Yeah,
he's a bad guy.
Bo Badham. Yeah. Anyway, stop saying Bo Badham. I can't. But when he rocks up at the village, you can have a really nice. We're not sure if we're meeting our heroes fighting Bo, because like some of the the people as they are getting like knocked around and everyone's arriving up and there's chaos. We're not sure if like any of these are our leads. Man, there's a lot of tension there. You can have a bit of a. I'm going to the beginning of I think. Whatever one of the maybe the Force Awakens or something. There's when Mo or Kylo Ren when Mo yeah. Hey, are there any lightsabers around here?
Kylo Ren is now called Mo.
Yeah, look, I sometimes get my cultural references slightly skewed with. So yeah, when Mo turns up and slices Homer's head off on a plate. No, when Kylo Ren rocks up and he's got his force with him and he's clearly just owning and completely taking over the little sort of rebel settlement that they come across, like a scene like that. So we've got our opening relatively big scene, but then. Are we having we're not going to have I guess, a big scene for each of the flashbacks, but we'll have some of the more, like, Bear Strangler. He's got a big action scene because he's called Bear Strangler. Yeah. So, like, whatever his flashback involves, there's something going on there, but then...
I want everything to be a clue. So when we have these flashbacks, or when the table's announced, the final table, and they all come out, we'll have the similar shots to when we first came to the town with the people arriving, where you'll see, like, this similar kind of, Steadicam through, but now it's the carnival time, and you might see a corpse that's been lynched for gambling or for cheating or something like that, and there might be a really angry barman or something like that. All these little details that you're directed towards will then be paid off, and there's reasons why we're showing these things. That everything's set up. So in the flashbacks, when Django the Bear Strangler is fighting, he might hide something under a wagon. Or he might deliberately break a pillar, which is going to weaken something for later on. So all these, every moment, every element is kind of calculated. Yeah,
so whichever guys are taking either fresh batch of prisoners or something into the inner sanctum for processing, like they have to take a different route. And because of the broken thing that the bear has left, they've got to take a different route. And now suddenly we can have Trudy jump down and take them out and get the things she needs from them, like the passcodes to get into the inner sanctum or something like that. Yeah, okay, man. And each of them are going to have, like, obviously, so we've got, like, Deckard Six Hands Dice. I'm assuming he's good with a gun. He's quick.
Yes, he's a card sharp.
Excellent.
But, so he can deal
with the cards, doing a gambit.
Spinning the cards. He's really fast at that. But yeah, he's a sharpshooter.
Okay, he needs to throw a card and it gets in the way of I'm going back to the lasers, Graham. I'm so sorry, but it's space.
It's gonna block a laser with a card.
Yeah, like definitely, like a sensor, one of those things. And he just in the nick of time, just before like the alarm's about to get triggered, he's like shung, and it's like boing. I'm available for sound effects should this film get made, of course. So how old is Bo? Is he has he been doing this for years and years and years and years? Man?
Yeah, I reckon he's in his 50s.
Okay,
he's the Gene Hackman in Unforgiven, or the Gene Hackman in The Quick and the Dead,
or just the Gene Hackman in Life, or man, the scary older guy who ain't going to take no mess from no one, man.
Okay, I reckon he's a bit old.
I think he is, because that will then enable him to build up all of the grudges.
And he's not going to recognise many of them.
Oh, he does it too much.
He doesn't too much.
Dude,
and I was also thinking, if it were space, we could have them as aliens or different creature designs. You can make it a lot weirder and interesting, and maybe move away from some of the stereotypes you get in westerns now. I was loath to even write Moon Across the Water because I felt that might have been a bit too on the nose.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. That sounds, yes. But not if we beautifully abstract all of these potential stock characters into something much more fantastical, much more interesting, man, and give them a bit more agency and, all of that kind of jazz as well.
Director-wise, I'll tell you who I really would like, and I can't remember his name, but it's a movie that I like way more than I probably should. I don't know. It's great. Sean Levy, I would have.
Okay.
Because I know he's done lots of like Ryan Reynolds-y, very family-oriented, but I really love Real Steel.
Okay. Well, I've heard that has made certain members of the podcast cry, not me. In the past. Yeah.
Has it made both members of the podcast cry?
Maybe a little bit, because it's about fathers and sons and robots. How can I not cry? I nearly cried oil.
I mean, Terminator 2, Mothers and Sons and Robots, fuck off. Fathers and Sons and Robots, give me Real Steel any day.
Oh, holy moly, yeah, no, that's a really good shout. Okay, man, so we're looking at, and I like that because that brings us back in line with the Ocean's 11, the Ocean's series, that kind of fun. There are stakes, absolutely, man, but John Krasinski, I was thinking, going back to, he has handled space and visuals extraordinarily well. He's quite, again, a clean director, maybe a bit too distant. I'm not.
Has he done space?
Yeah, he did. It's going to take a while for it to come into my brain, so I'll sing until it does. No, it still hasn't. Oblivion, it did. There we go.
Oh, yeah. That's Joe Kosinski.
Oh,
you said John Krasinski.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean him. Joe Kosinski, forgive me. Yeah, not Krasinski, because he did like A Quiet Place, and I don't agree with that film. So I just don't agree with it.
Any other films that give you the rumbly tummy as well? Just doesn't agree with me. I can't possibly digest.
Antacid, and I'm coughing up tiny little Krasinskis for the rest of the week.
Joe Kosinski did Oblivion and Tron Legacy and Top Gun Maverick.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly who I meant.
I'm not sure if he'd bring the fun.
No, that's the problem. He's very
energy.
cold.
He's very clean.
Yeah, he's like a sort of like
composed,
Fincher,
cool.
but not like anyway. So
you'd want someone knockabout. Obviously, Soderbergh would be good because he did, for the time, Fracturing, Ocean's 11-y, cleverer. Rian Johnson would be good. He's very good at setup and payoff.
And sci-fi.
And details and sci-fi. Little details here and there that you have to pay attention to. You're kindly directed towards, but not shoved in your face.
Yeah.
That then pay off later
Which brings me to Guy Ritchie.
I was just about to say Guy Ritchie. He's probably, that development has probably led us to the perfect director for this material, which is, because it's got your geezers playing cards.
Exactly.
It's got your men on a mission.
Yep.
You've got your Western. I don't think he's ever done a Western, but he'd be very good in that sandpit, I think. Yeah, so that was Six Hands in My Pocket. It was a very nebulous, no pun intended,
That's good.
pitch, but we put things together. And I think one thing we didn't discuss, how the baddie gets his.
Well, I was going to ask, what happens at the end, because we've revealed him. He's still in the poker tournament at this point, facing off against Declan Six Hands, obviously, who is the master poker player. So he is the one who's going to be there to beat him and take the money. And they're having their very tense playoff. And
I just had an idea.
Okay.
For the ending.
Hit me.
Right, so he's going to get arrested. Okay. Mm-hmm. But he escapes into his light ship, his little escape vehicle shippy thing, and he's going to star jump while it teleports away or whatever. I don't know stuff, science fiction stuff. So it's going to zoom away, and he's like, oh no, he's getting away. Yep. So he hasn't got time to plot his star course or whatever. So he puts it in, he goes away. But what is revealed is that Trudy, the one who's been chomping at the bit to kill him. In one of her side quests, she went off mission, and she thought that this might happen. So she reprogrammed his light jump thing, and he just light jumps right into the middle of a fucking star.
And all you get is
or it goes up and comes straight back down into the
back to them and just lands outside the police station
and then you would get exactly, or it would just crash and you would get that amazing shot of everybody being, oh, he's gone. And it crashes, and then one person looks to the left, they look to the left, everyone else looks down the line to her, and she's like, well,
maybe I did something.
maybe I did something.
You know that time I snuck out for 5 minutes in the game?
Yeah. That'll be the last final gag.
Yeah,
is that they planned. She knew that he was going to try and weasel his way out of it, but she's beaten to the punch. And she gets his comeuppance. And if it's a ridiculous death like that, if you make it funny, then you can get away with it. You don't want him to be like shot to pieces in the street. It's a bit too graphic and brutal. But if he is teleported into the sun or something,
I think plunged into the
something
sun.
Looney Tunes,
Yeah.
something Roger Rabbity would work for the.
Could we maybe think of if we're casting Big Bo Badham?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Clancy Brown.
Yes,
but he's big. Yeah. He's got the elder statesman role that you need, like the Hopper in Waterworld, or the presence that you need. He's been around. It would. I don't know. That was the one I thought for him. Man, was Clancy Brown.
That's a good shout. My pick is going to go very against type.
Okay.
I want someone charismatic and charming, so that at this carnival, everyone wants to go there. They want it. He's like a rock star, or he's like a movie star. Kind of, is oh my god, this is Bo Badham. He gets whatever he wants. I'd go for like Brad Pitt or something like that. Just like way out.
With his big Brad Pitt hair, man, flowing down.
Scenery chewing, handlebar moustached, slicked back hair. Brad Pitt, like really decked out in this refined cowboy stuff.
Yeah, and
ridiculous monologues and like a showman, kind of drumming up the crowd, but also having quiet scenes of intimidation
and he can do both. He can flip so easily. Like you'll get the killing them softly, Brad, and the
Meet Joe Black, Brad.
Yeah, he's really good at like getting hit by spaceships, lots of spaceships at once, and surviving, man, and speaking jive when he shouldn't be.
Creole.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would, maybe something like that. I'd go stunt casting for Bo Badham and get like an absolute ginormous movie star for the bad guy. But he needs to be an ever-present kind of threat, or an ever-present, it's on your mind. Bo Badham's the bad guy and he's there. So a movie star of that power and significance and magnitude would be quite effective in that role, I think. So that was my unfleshed out, which we then added flesh to, pitch for Six Hands in My Pocket.
Yeah, we put some skin on them bones, man. Damn right.
Okay, so shall we choose some horses for each other for next week?
I think that's a fantastic idea, man. I'm going to take us to, I think, Bangor on D for the 325 Bangor on D standard race card, 10th of February 2023. And looking at the fine selection of beautiful animals that we have laid before me, I'm going to give you Arsino's Adventure.
Arsino's Adventure. Thank you very much. In that case, I'm going to give you Lovin' Jukebox.
Lovin' Jukebox. Okay.
Spelt Lovin'.
Sexy Lovin'. All right, man.
Sexy Lovin'.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'll let that sit around the old noodle. And next episode, we shall reveal what the devil we come up with. That sounds like a plan, Stan.
That sounds fantastic. Well, I've really enjoyed our little chat today. A first podcast in the bag. Pilot episode 0,
Boom,
I guess.
That is. Yep. El Zilcho.
So, that leaves it for us just to say goodbye to each other and goodbye to everybody out there. Hope you're safe and taking care of each other and loving life, loving the world, loving everything around you, and just being good eggs all round. Bye! Bye-bye! Well, there we have it. Another episode of Racehorse Movies is over. We both hope you had as much fun listening as we did coming up with these films and recording our pitches. If you enjoyed this, please share it around with your friends and loved ones. And if it wasn't your thing, I don't know, maybe share it with someone you're miffed with. Who knows? If it's not for them either, maybe you two can build some bridges over that connection. But if you did like picking up what we put down and you fancy checking out some more content from us, then head over to TheNeverPress.com to take a gander at our novels, poetry and other bits and bobs. Anyway, that's about enough from us. Hope to have you back next time for some friendly chat and barely thought through pitches at Racehorse Movies. Ta-ta!